the whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I rang up Mendenhall, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has to. He is a shocking person right now. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-Viv.
No, my life from Rashad Mendenhall.
Right, you guys, I'm a tag jack! I'm a fucking tag!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report, and as you can see we have a different guest this week and in person as well. It's Mike.
How you doing?
How's it going? Yeah, good man. You?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
good to be back.
Yeah,
this is
that was the second appearance on the LOC Report, I think.
this is season 4 for me. And,
God, is it 4 years
appearance
that you've been in the league? That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
I came on when I knew nothing. And,
Yeah.
Once again, I've come on and I know
Marginally
a little bit more. But,
at least you won't have the same team name change that Ben did when he gradually started.
Indeed.
We're still waiting for the next iteration of that, by the way, Ben. But no, yeah. So yeah, officially underway now. Week 1 is obviously in the books, and we're week 2 has already begun. So let's just get straight to it then. So yeah, we've got the week 1 recaps. We'll start with. I think we'll do it in a slightly different order this year. So we'll start off with the recaps. Then we'll go into the news, because obviously news can kind of tip some of the recap stuff. Yeah. And then we'll go into it that way. So we'll start with the marquee matchup from last week, which was the current champion in their first game since the Corona Bowl 13 against my team. So it was Gridiron Gang against the Dream Team. Gridiron Gang and the Dream Team faced off in what was truly the marquee matchup of week 1, I think it's fair to say, as Gridiron Gang saw off the current champ, now in the one in the loss column for the first time in quite some time, 125 points to 103 points. Going down the lineups for Gridiron Gang, Josh Allen got the party started early with 37 points on kickoff night, but he certainly wasn't alone. Michael Thomas chipped in with 18 points, Terry McLaurin 12, Travis Kelsey 18, Joe Mixon 15, and then the special teams and kickers got 9 apiece as well, en route to a team effort 125. On the other side of the board for the Dream Team, they had a pretty good day as well. Joe Burrow, it's fair to say, struggled his way to 21 points. Stephon Diggs 18, Jamar Chase 19, Jerry Jeudy 16 in the Bills defense as well, again on Thursday night, starting off with 21. But it wasn't enough for Viv, and he drops this one. The history of this matchup all time. Gridiron Gang moves slightly closer, taking the record to 6-9 overall. So yeah, way to kick off the LOC season as well as the NFL season.
Absolutely, yeah. 2 decent scores. Looking at it from the side, Nath, I think was the highest score of the week. So
yep,
so
sure was.
Hardline Viv, but I was always told getting over 100 points means you're doing something right. So we'll start with Viv first, and I'm not sure how Burrow got to 20.
Yeah, watching that game, I mean, you can see in the stat line there, 4 interceptions, and I'm pretty sure he might have had a fumble on top of that as well, yet still managed to top 20 points, which is quite remarkable, really.
Decent effort. And, looking at the rest of it, that receiver core we talked about, or Chris talked about in the post-draft show, looking good. Diggs looks pretty unplayable. Chase as well.
Again, they were forcing the ball to him. We were watching the game, and so many, we couldn't quite believe he didn't have a touchdown. They were obviously forcing him the ball so much, but he got there in the end.
Yeah. so those big 2 obviously hit off. Jeudy as well with 16 on the Monday. Unfortunately, a couple of big gaps. Mike Williams somehow got ignored in that game.
It's a strange one, yeah.
Even with Keenan Allen off for the second half.
Hamstring. Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have made the difference, but if him and DJ Moore could get up there, then would have been a very close game. Your side, obviously having a quarterback on the Thursday, scoring near enough 40 points is always going to
that does help.
Be a massive start. Mike Thomas shaved the old self. So I have to see how he does against my Tampa this week.
Oh yeah.
But, McLaurin, bit of a weird one. It was all kind of one play, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 catches on the day, I think, on 4 targets. Yeah.
Kelsey, kind of vintage Kelsey, isn't it? Getting involved, doing all the stuff, and Mixon, probably could have done a tad more, but 15 points, all we are.
34 touches.
34?
And got just a hair under 15 points or 150 yards, so not the most efficient outing, but given how long the game went into overtime and everything, so as you say. And the funniest thing about my team is the kicker is now cut. He chipped in 9 points for me. I'd have kept him on the team.
He missed the game winner, didn't he? So
as well as kicking 2 of the kickoffs out of bounds, which, to be fair, isn't all on him. Well, I mean, he obviously did kick them out of bounds, but the punter usually takes missed the kickoffs for them, and he got injured in the preseason, I think. So it's not normally what he would do. Yeah, so slightly unfortunate there.
Bit of time to make some Lego in his house again. whole plank and shit.
It popped up on Reddit actually. There was a photo of him, which was really depressing, of him just kicking balls on like a field on his own. And it looks like, oh no. Like, going back to the fantasy though. So I mean, for Viv's like, it's obviously a good outing. You can't really criticise it too much. Mike Williams, we will see in a bit, has already had a good start this week, and will have better days. DJ Moore was always going to be a difficult one because it kind of, as per last year, he will have the good games when you have got obviously that optimal quarterback situation. That's kind of going to happen. Fielding 5 wideouts, Viv's going to be happy with that opening day. There's not really much more you can say. I think the kicker let him down as well, obviously with only a point. Wouldn't have made the difference here, but we'll see in a bit. He's already corrected that. And then on the other side, as you say, it was the league high score of the week. As you say, helped in large part by Josh Allen. And you kind of touched on it. There was an element of almost flukiness to the score because this was actually quite a close game. And I think the chart really does show that. It was only until the 9 p.m. games kicked off the mighty, or right near the tail end of, you can see there, the 6 p.m. games. Because, Michael Thomas was doing, and McLaurin were doing nothing up to and including halftime. Michael Thomas did all his damage in the second half on those 2 touchdown catches. And as you say, McLaurin got a 49-yard touchdown and did the exact same thing. So, good start, but we'll go on to the other games.
Definitely positives for both teams to take away.
Yeah, completely. Our next game then was Ben Assisties against Bucking the Trend. Oh, that's a very low news jingle noise. There we go. Bare Necessities and Bucking the Trend duked it out in the divisional matchup in week 1, and Bucking the Trend came out on top, 108 to 87 points. Looking down the lineup, Tua, Mike did believe, and he did chip in with 16 points, which was enough for the win, of course. But elsewhere, Saquon Barkley doing large part of the tugging for this team with 26 points. Looks like he's back. DeAndre Swift also looked like worthy of a first-round pick with 24 points there. The Buccaneers defense got 17, knocking Dak Prescott out of the game, but they weren't doing much even before that, en route to that nice 108. On the other side of the board for Ben Necessities, Lamar Jackson, he had a decent day at 26 points, as did AJ Brown, 16 points, all yardage that one. Leonard Fournette had a decent day too, again, all yardage, 14 points, but no other player over 10 points there. So Bucking the Trend picks up a nice win in week 1. Ben Necessities takes an L, and the history of this matchup all time, Ben Necessities are now whereas 2 and 3 all time against Bucking the Trend. So you take the lead on this one, Mike. And just tying off, sir, I thought one thing on the other game, just before we go to this one. I've only ever won week 1 3 times. And that's also the 3rd time I've only ever gone over 100 points in week 1. So very out of character.
What happened in those seasons?
The times that I've won? I will have to look at that. You give the rundown on this and I'll go and investigate.
Okay. Right. We'll start again with Dave. 87 is it's a middling score. It's not quite enough to deserve a win. Starting at the top, Lamar. Again, he didn't look fantastic against the Jets.
It was an odd one.
But he definitely got the stuff done, and a couple of big bombs towards the end of that game for 26. Feel a little bit probably hard done by again. Jefferson's obviously going to steal the show for much of the year, but you kind of would expect your second receiver to have a few more opportunities than that. I guess Shaw on the other foot, AJ Brown absolutely dominated against Detroit, and whoever the second receiver, Devonta Smith, obviously came up with it was a goose egg, wasn't it?
Yeah, didn't get a single catch on the day.
And AJ Brown pretty close to a couple of touchdowns as well, I remember. So 15 points, but could have been more. Fournette looked solid. Again, 137 scrimmage yards. Had a couple of touchdowns. That's another monster day. Eckler is a bit of not a concern yet, but
it's his usage is fundamentally different almost from what it was last
Joshua
year.
Kelly definitely getting involved a lot more in that team, and to finish off the skill position, Singletary again solid, but meh is probably a good word to
that kind of sums up Devin Singletary in a very neat nutshell. That's how I describe him too.
And, Gay in Matt Gay kicking in the 9 is pretty average as well. Onto my side, Tua. Again, 16 points isn't great for a quarterback, but it's probably like the lower bar you're going to pass, it'll keep you going. Keenan Allen looked great for 1.5 quarters until he decided to do his hamstring. Deontay Johnson, again, pretty nothing, but at least he got some catches in overtime. The big two, though, Barkley and Swift.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did have a bit of a gamble drafting Barkley in the second, and I didn't think he would play that well, that quick, but hopefully it will continue. He looked pretty awesome against the Titans, and that speed's back. He's not had that kind of... There was that one play, he made that 50-yarder where he kind of got to the outside, and he hadn't seen that since his rookie season. And obviously staying healthy is the big thing for all. There's been flashes of Barkley in the past, and we'll have to see if that happens. Swift again, looked great. Jamal Williams with a couple of vulture touchdowns in that game, and sounds like that's going to probably be the part of the season, but Detroit are definitely building themselves around Swift, and as long as he can stay healthy, we'll see how that goes into this week. But, as long as he can stay healthy, I think he'll be a pretty good pick. Jacobs not great, Hopkins okay, Buccaneers D pretty good, and 108 points. Good start for me, who I didn't like my team at the start. So I'll definitely take that.
Yeah, for sure. And this again, you can see in the chart here that this was one way you were losing for quite a long part of the way. But then, obviously, as you say, turned it around. If we kind of go back in reverse, so DeAndre Swift, like you say, had a couple of touchdowns vultured from him. Still had that 24 points, and really I think a large part of that was big runs that led them down to the goal line, like 30-yard plus runs or whatever. When he came off, obviously needed a breather, and they put Jamal Williams in. If it's they get into that position ordinarily, he's probably still on the field, right? And so it was just kind of unfortunate. As you said, on Saquon Barkley going up what I would say is a pretty good Titans run defense as well. As you say, terrific day. It looks like he's back to himself. Obviously, as you say with Swift, he's just got to hope he stays healthy. But actually having a really good offensive mind in Brian Day will be quite good for him. As you say, that kind of led the way for your side, and those two figured to be a large part of it. I think you've still got a good roster around that. Like you say, losing Allen wasn't ideal there, but he'll be back at some point. Going to the bench there.
It's too bad.
But on the bench, you've got two guys as well, obviously Edwards-Helaire and St. Brown, who had pretty solid days as well. So, a good measure for your win overall, I'd say. Looking at my dad's team, it was a fairly disappointing week one, like you said. Lamar Jackson, kind of like Burrow, as you said, struggled his way to that 26 points very much. The Ravens certainly weren't having an easy time against the Jets. But you look down, and other than him, nobody else scores a touchdown in this game, which could potentially be an issue with this team, because, like you say, Eckler, his usage hasn't looked as good.
Changed,
Singletary is a guy that gets vultured at the goal line by Josh Allen. He's obviously got Zach Moss there and James Cook there to contend with. Leonard Fournette, his days of getting a touchdown should come, being in that Bucs offense. And then again, you've got guys like AJ Brown and Thielen. Adam Thielen looks like a very much number 2 to Justin Jefferson at the moment, with ascending KJ Osborne as well, who bare necessities also have, by the way, but he didn't do a great deal in that game. AJ Brown, he had a great day. He's definitely going to be the lead receiver for that team, but on a day where Devontae Smith, as you said, did absolutely nothing. So it's certainly an okay start. 87 points. It's not good. It's not bad. But it certainly could have been better. But no, a nice win for you all the same. We'll go on to we've not been doing the locks and the pick 'em, so but going back to the first game, and then we'll go. I've gone back and looked through the seasons when I had the thing. So we'll cover off a few things before we go to this game. So me and Chris both have picked Viv to win, so we both got that wrong. And let's see, we also picked Bare Necessities to win, and I locked up Bare Necessities. As we know, if I lock you up, that's a bad thing or a good thing if you're the opponent, because I'm 1-5
Thank you for
now. So you're welcome, no problem. And then going back to the original thing, so I think I found most of them here. So it's let's see here. So in 2018, I scored 100 points in week 1, and by the end, I didn't win the week 1 game though. And then by the end of the season, I finished 11th. So there you go.
That's a good omen.
Good omen, yep. And then again in 2016, I didn't get 100 points, but I did win. And that was the year that I nearly made the playoffs. So I did have the highest scoring team that year, but I think I had a 6-8 record in the end because I had a boatload of points dropped on me. Yep. And then again in 2015, I scored 124 points and won the game in week 1. And I ended up finishing, where did I finish? 7th place there. So 8-6. Okay, so it was a pretty good record. It was a playoff record, but just about missed out. Yeah, I was the 5th team, so just about missed out. So it's
so Nathan's been eliminated from playoff contention in week 1.
Based on history, yes. So we'll go on to our next game now then, which pitted Ixan against Neapolitans. Ixan took on Napolitans in week 1, and Ixan came out triumphant in what was a fairly close game on the day, and did end up being a 9 PM game comeback, as Ixan won it 106 points to 90. Looking down the lineups, Patrick Mahomes did a lot of the heavy lifting for Ixan, throwing 5 touchdowns on the day and getting 44 points. Deebo Samuel got 11, James Conner got 11, Christian McCaffrey got 12, and Antonio Gibson got 13. So again, behind Mahomes' big day, it was a team effort to get it over the line. Meanwhile, on the Napolitan side of the ball, Jalen Hurts got 25 points, Christian Kirk got 12, and then the Dolphins defense got 20 en route to that 90. So skill position's not really doing them any favours here in week 1. And the history of this matchup all time, now Ixan are 2-0, meaning Napolitans are still searching for their first win against Ixan. Death Taxes and Ixan having a solid team by the looks of things.
That sounds like it. Obviously, there's something in the spreadsheets. But we'll start with Ben on this one. Obviously, putting a high draft capital on the quarterback comes up dividend straight away. 44 points is a pretty massive score.
Mm-hmm.
Not you hear it quite often from Mahomes, but that's why you draft him for those kind of numbers. Complementary numbers from Deebo and Conner and Gibson. McCaffrey, maybe you were looking for a little bit more, but there was a very weird game, that Cleveland-Carolina game.
I can't remember.
It was pretty garbage, wasn't
it? It was. We had it on as the top game because obviously having Baker playing Cleveland, that profiled to be some fireworks. And I think by the end of it kind of did get that way. But for 3/4 of that game, it was pretty. We turned it off, I think, at half-time because it was just painful. McCaffrey only had, I can't remember the exact number of touches he finished with. It was 8 or 12 or something. It wasn't a lot.
Surely that'll have to change it.
I think rules has already come out and said it's not good enough.
So that's pretty much there. Rest of Ben's team is not that great. Amari Cooper's probably, he's going to obviously have better days than that, but having trust in a Cleveland receiver this season might be a little bit of an issue. In the kicker and the Colts D par for the course. Moving across to Dave's team, start with the quarterback again. Only one rushing touchdown for Hurts. Again, that 25 could have easily been a high score with a couple more touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
The receiving core, Hill looked pretty good. He wasn't getting an awful lot from Tua in that game I was watching, and obviously a couple of touchdowns away. Higgins, was it concussion?
He did.
So again, a bit of a missed opportunity, but I'm not sure how big the score would have been in that game because Burrow was again a bit dysfunctional. Edmonds not special. Kirk pretty good for where you drafted him. You're happy with that. Najee again a bit of an issue. Only the 8 points again.
And he came out of the game with the high ankle sprain as well, didn't he? So
I think that's taught he should be. Is he taught that he's okay for?
He should be playing.
That's fine.
Like,
again, obviously, 20 points from the Dolphins D is something you can't rely on every week, and maybe that papers over the cracks a little bit for the score this week.
Yeah.
But definitely a bit of a down week for Dave, and I think there's a bit of room for improvement for both.
I completely agree. Yeah, there's got some good things in there, some bad things for both teams. Obviously, it was a fairly close game on the day, and really, Mahomes was the difference here if you talk about it, because he got 20 points more than Hurts, and that 16-point margin of victory. That really was the difference between the two teams. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be solid. 25 points, obviously, on a day when your team scores 38 doesn't sound great, but he's definitely going to be heavily involved. Likewise with Mahomes, as you say, he's going to pop up with those days and be pretty good. You kind of touched it with Amari Cooper. Donovan Peoples-Jones was like the target leader on the team on the day, and they've obviously got some tight ends that are like there as well. And it's Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball right. So Amari Cooper might be one of those guys when Deshaun Watson comes back that it benefits from, but. Yeah, I don't know how much you're going to get from him.
Can you hold him for 11 weeks for that?
Yeah.
That's going to be the question.
Yeah. And likewise, Deebo Samuel, I think he was a guy that a lot of people kind of had circled his ADP. Was, his rank was probably a bit too high, being a second-round pick. I say that. After week 1, obviously that game was a monsoon, so to a degree you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But I think actually now with Elijah Mitchell getting injured, that probably actually helps Deebo, because obviously they like to get him involved in the backfield. So I think if Mitchell was healthy, you're perhaps circling that and saying that doesn't look so great, but he'll probably be really solid going forward. That James Conner, obviously, the Arizona offense just wasn't quite on it on the whole day, were they? And
they kind of got a little bit game scripted as well.
Yeah, completely. And McCaffrey, he's a great running back. Ultimately, on a bad team, he'll get more touches and definitely have better days. But potentially the chance that he might not be quite as explosive. The Browns, fairly tough matchup.
I think you've got to give him a few more weeks before we start saying that.
Completely. Antonio Gibson looked good though, and obviously that was one of the ones where Ben really gained coming out of
post draft.
Where obviously Brian Robinson got shot.
It sounds like he's a bit of a Superman. He's
training
already.
Yeah, I can't wait till he. I've got him on my reserve at the moment, so I can't wait till he comes back to see what he can do. But Gibson looked good, so for as long as he's the only
in the short term.
Exactly.
Sure. Keep going.
Yeah, completely. Looking on the bench there, not a great deal to pivot to either for Ben, which is the worry. So if some of these guys don't fire, but I think what we've seen from Ixan in previous years is they usually nail the starting lineup, and it's shaping up that it should be okay. Obviously, they need to find that fifth position there, but other than that, they're all good. Then on the other side, we kind of came out of the draft looking at this Neapolitans team with some question marks, I think it's fair to say, because T. Higgins obviously the second round pick. Now he got injured in this game, so it's impossible to obviously know what he was doing, but they were obviously forcing that ball to Jamar Chase. Tyreek Hill as well, again he had a decent day, but Jalen Waddle gets the touchdown. How good is this Dolphins offense going to be? Chase Edmonds obviously playing as well. Again, Raheem Mostert was mixing in quite a bit there. So Christian Kirk was a bright spot. 120 yards is quite nice. So I reckon he could be a pretty good option. And then Najee Harris, he's the big worry though, because he was already a guy that you were relying on. He wasn't particularly efficient in his
volume.
It was the volume. He's never been a particularly efficient running back. And especially now with the high ankle sprain, and you almost want him to kind of shut it down for a few weeks when that's the case, because then you can get the handcuff, he'll rest up, come back hopefully okay. It's probably something that's really going to affect him all season for a guy that was already struggling with efficiency. So big worry, I think, for Neapolitans.
Bit of a question mark on that one.
Yeah, completely. Looking to the bench again, not a great deal there. Ramondre Stevenson, maybe he's a little better now with Ty Montgomery on IR. But based on how that Pats offense looked in week one, I don't think it
wouldn't want to go there.
Doesn't matter how good Ramondre Stevenson is if there's no run O-line blocking for him. Kyle Pitts had a weird one as well. I think he'll probably come better and be an option.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially on a day when Atlanta were pretty good. Jahan Dotson was obviously the real highlight though, and I think even Traylon Burks playing on fairly limited snaps.
You got to think they're both going to grow a little bit into it.
Yeah,
Dotson's not going to score 15 every week. Every week,
completely.
But that catch for a second touchdown, that was
That
was a real play.
Yeah, definitely. So Ixan takes that one, and in terms of the picks, so me and Chris both picked Ixan on that one. So hey, we at least
on the board.
Right. Yeah, we're on the board. Our next game then was Bedenaiders against Forge Flyers. In the other Portsmouth Division matchup, the Detonators took on Forge Flyers, and if the other one was the marquee matchup, this one's the Mark Not matchup. Let's go with that. 75 points to 54 points in what I guess they took inspiration from that Browns-Panthers game, perhaps.
Definitely.
Yeah, so Chris does take the win, though, with this one. So looking down the lineup, Kyler Murray on a day where the Cardinals did struggle a bit, he still got 24 points. Jalen Waddle got 14 points, and Nick Chubb got 14 points, but not a lot else around that. Obviously, a day where they lost Elijah Mitchell to injury, and Alvin Kamara was dealing with a rib issue as well. On the other side of the ball for the Detonators, week one to forget, unfortunately for them. 20 points from Russell Wilson was the only player who went over 10 points. In fact, only other than the kicker, over 8 points. He got 9. But Detonators lose this one. The history of this matchup all time. Forge Flyers are 10-8 against the Detonators with that win.
Yeah, bit of a... considering that some of the other games so far have been relatively decent scoring, this one definitely is not. I believe this is 12 versus 11 in terms of points scored, so definite gypsy win for Chris on this one. We'll start with Chris's team. Kyler, again, that was a pretty weird display by Arizona, so you're going to be pretty happy with 24 points.
Yeah,
in that game, they were rubbish for the first half of that game.
Yeah,
they were very weird.
They got down big early, like you say, and he didn't play particularly well. But again, it's he's the kind of quarterback where he's going to come out of a game probably with around that kind of points, whether he plays well.
Yeah, and again, that's a pretty good place to put him in. Sutton looked okay. That Denver game was a bit weird from the highlight side. I saw.
It was a strange game. Yeah, I watched the game back. Obviously, there was a lot around it being the Rust Bowl, going back to Seattle, which is a tough place to go anyway, right?
Apart from in the last minute where you decide to waste 30 seconds and then call time.
Yeah, that was very strange game management. But no, okay, Judy grabbed the headlines with that long touchdown, but he's, as you say, still chipped in 70 yards. I think something's going to be fine going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, there's still a lot of time for them to grow into the relationship between them. Waddle and Tua, they've known each other a long time. Take away that 40 whatever it was after touchdown, it's not a good day for Waddle. Kamara again, sounds like he's got that rib issue. Hasn't been training this week, and obviously last week, 4 points isn't great for your first round pick.
Yeah, against Atlanta as well. They played pretty good on D, but still very, very surprising.
Yeah, that'd be the lowest score he's had against Atlanta in his career, probably.
Yeah.
Chubb, you know what you're going to get with Chubb. You're going to get carries, you're going to get yards. You just need the touchdowns, and I believe he's got Kareem Hunt hiding on his bench somewhere.
With 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's good to have him, but learning to play one or both of them is going to be the issue for Chris.
We spoke about this on the day, didn't we? Yeah, it's the kind of guy that if you've got if you've got Chubb or Hunt, you're happy to play them both. If you've got them both, it doesn't feel right, playing them both because one's going to be equal, as you say, in this unfortunate situation. I mean, not to say it's bad.
Good news. Well, not good news for Chris Elijah, which is on IR, but it's a pretty big slot for him straight away to put someone.
Yeah, completely. It's not the first time we would have seen a team play 2 running backs from the same team. It can work,
for sure. And Ollie's team, we'll go over this one relatively quickly because there's not many points to pick out. We talked a bit about the Russ game. That was a little bit strange. He's going to have better days. That's fine. Juju is a bit of a weird one. He was slated up as the number 1 guy in Kansas from the preseason. And it's going to be hard to kind of work out when and where to play Juju based on last week and probably this week as well, without spoiling a couple of the previews for the matchups. Mooney, Tanfran, horrible game. You want to give him another chance because catching balls in that condition, those conditions was pretty awful.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry was a bit of a strange one. Only the 7 points for your first round pick again isn't great. He's going to have assume better days, but this is a changing Titans team, so we'll have to have a look on the outlook for that for the next few weeks. Again, CeeDee Lamb, not great, made worse with the Dak injury. It'll be a interesting few weeks, and on the Dak thing, it's a bit strange. They've not put him on IR. They're going to try and get him back for week 4, week 5, and to me, this is just vibes of Russell Wilson last year. They rushed him back from a hand injury, and I had DK Metcalf last year, and it was better with with Geno Smith for those 4 weeks than it was for Russ afterwards. So I guess they've got to get him back as soon as they can because Dak's the man for Dallas. But not good news for CeeDee Lamb.
No.
Etienne was a bit of a strange one because he only scored 5 points, but he dropped 2 or 3 big balls.
There was one he dropped, which would have been a touchdown. And then I think there was another one where Lawrence just completely missed him, and it would have been a walk-in touchdown. Yeah, so and both those touchdowns happened went to James Robinson.
Robinson on the other side, and he's going to have better days, Etienne. So I think he's a bit of a light-up, and kicker and defense, not great from the Saints, but they'll get better. Not great from the Holly. Was anyone on the bench you'd want to go for?
I think that's the more worrying thing. Yeah, not a lot of points there on the bench. Obviously, Christian Watson dropped the bomb walk-in touchdown would have completely changed his day, but as it happened, he didn't step up around that. Not really else a great deal around that as well. Obviously, Russell Gage might have some prominence. He was obviously just coming back to health, and the other receivers are healthy, but now the other receivers are not healthy, and he's the healthy one. So.
Isn't he not healthy as well?
I thought
the top 5.
All of them. I think he's still coming back from the hamstring, but I think out of them, he's the most healthiest from the sounds at the moment. Let's stick with Ollie's team though, because Ollie always drafts these kind of teams that it's either going to work or it's not, boom or bust. And I think Ollie would agree. The way he's shaped the team, it was always going to be probably a grower, and as opposed to an instant one. Certainly when you're talking about the kind of ancillary guys like Etienne, being effectively a rookie running back where he missed all of last year, and then guys on the bench like so many all the rookies, literally all the rookies, and Russell Gage to a degree, and I think this would have been worse than they were expecting, and it's a tricky one. Like you say with Juju, Mahomes said it just before the season started, it's going to be a different guy every week. So far, I don't think any of the receivers really. I think one of them maybe got in. Was it Hardman scored or something on yesterday night's game?
I'm not enough yesterday.
One of them scored, I think. But as you kind of say, good luck predicting. When each one's going to step up. Mooney, as you say, you kind of have to throw out the game to a degree, but we still don't know how good this Bears offense is really going to be. Henry, as you say, that is a worrying start because the carries are piling up. As you say, they are a bit of a changing team. They're still a run-heavy team, but the defense doesn't look quite as good. The O-line's not quite as good. Yeah. The passing weapons, you don't have AJ Brown there to threat, so it's very different. Yeah. CeeDee Lamb, obviously, that's a guy whose outlook has just been completely changed. Not that it looked particularly good.
It wasn't great.
Before Dak went down, but yeah, you still got that could potentially go up in flames, and then Etienne as well. Again, like you say, I completely agree. He's a guy that's going to have the good days, but he's also going to have days like this if James Robinson's going to be as involved as he was, and that was week 1 coming off the Achilles tear. He's only going to maintain that role, if not slightly build on it. So yeah, definitely a worrying day but better days will be ahead for Ollie, as you say with Wilson especially. Going to Chris's side. You already covered it pretty well. I think just a bad week. It's so hard week 1 because you don't know what's a trend or what's a fluke,
especially this season because of the lack of real
exactly.
preseason.
Yeah, now that we have week 1, we said it on the day as well. Week 1, 2 to a degree are your preseason, and even in the games, certainly the 6 p.m. slate first half was pretty painful everywhere.
Everyone,
and then the second half of the games, it all came alive. It's just kind of what happens. I think Chris's team's going to be absolutely fine. Obviously, losing Elijah Mitchell was it's going to be a big loss for them. As you say, they've got at least Kareem Hunt as a ready.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of depth on the bench. To keep them covered.
Completely. And he was a guy kind of like Antonio Gibson who'd really gained from having the draft earlier, where they obviously cut Trey Sermon, and he looked like he was going to be the guy. Yeah. But obviously, me owning him last year, I can tell you, this is kind of why I didn't want him this year, because I was just like, he just could not stay healthy. It's unfortunately the injury he suffered.
Made of glass.
Completely. But Chris takes the one on that one, and we both picked Chris, so we're 2-2 for the week, at least. Yeah. So on to Tom's Tyrants against Pakistan then. Tom's Tyrants and Pakistan took on each other in this one, and this was another really entertaining game actually. Richardson and Devontae Adams posting 50 points combined, 30 points from Jefferson, and then 20 points from Devontae Adams. AJ Dillon also got 15, and the Browns D with 10. On the other side of the ball, Tom's Tyrants, an okay day. Tom Brady got 12, which was a bit disappointing, certainly with how that game went. Evans got 13 at least, though. Marquise Brown got 10. Miles Sanders 17. That's a nice late round draft pick, paying dividends. And Jonathan Taylor did Jonathan Taylor things and obviously got 24. Cam Akers did put up a donut though, which obviously didn't help. Would have been a closer game if not for that. History of this matchup all time. Let's see. Pakistan are now 5-4 against Tom's Tyrants all the time, so they break the series. Yeah, pretty good day for both teams, I'd say.
Yeah, again, for week 1, the points that are there. We'll start with the big one. Start with Pat. Herbert, again, I think Chris always talks about on the pod. He loves Justin Herbert. And,
he does.
Herbert was the third quarterback off the board, I think, in the draft.
Yeah, I think Mahomes went ahead of him, didn't he? Yeah.
And again, that's kind of a pretty staple. He's got a cannon of an arm. He's going to throw you touchdowns. He's got the receivers to do it. And 30 points is probably a higher than normal week, but definitely one that's going to be expected. You talked about it, Jefferson. He looked pretty unreal, didn't he?
Yeah.
Green Bay didn't really know what to do.
No, and it was kind of like with Jamar Chase. They were almost just force feeding him the ball. I mean, no other player. We saw KJ Osborne did nothing. We saw Thielen did nothing. We haven't seen Cook yet, but spoilers, he didn't do much either. So obviously that's not going to be the case every week. It's going to get shed around a little, but boy, you like to see it when you take him in the first round.
Absolutely, paying off there, and I reckon that'll continue. People are talking about records after 1 week, and after that, why not? He might do that.
They were using him the same way because obviously Kevin O'Connell coming from the Rams, obviously the year he had last year, a lot of the similar kind of concepts they were doing to get Jefferson open and get him the ball. Yeah,
that makes sense. Devontae. Again, I didn't think the Raiders looked that great, but putting up 20 points, and again, same kind of thing. When they had to throw the ball, Adams was always the guy.
I think he had like a 47% target share or something ridiculous. It was very much the same thing.
You think about how they used to throw to Renfro. He didn't even get a sniff, and he was the man last year. Dylan, pretty good to be honest.
Leading receiver for the Packers.
Receiver.
Yeah. In terms of yardage.
So it's quite a lot for a few reasons. Not all good for Green Bay, but yeah, pretty good. Zeke was a bit of a weird one because Zeke looked good every time he had the ball on that Monday night game, but they just seemed to not give him the ball an awful lot.
I think the Bucs like to force you to pass. They're obviously a good run defense, but as you say, with him looking fairly good and healthy, he also split quite a bit with Tony Pollard, which I guess is going to be expected. But.
Yeah. And at the top, we didn't mention Allen Robinson. Obviously, only 12 yards on debut night. That was a bit strange. And I know McVay's already come out and said we're going to get more. We're going to get more of him. We're going to get more of him. So put it down as a 1 week anomaly because he's a good player.
That was that.
He's got to come out and get better.
Yeah, that was that funny play. I don't know from it. There was like a crosser across the field where he was literally wide open and stuff. They just decided not to throw it with him. But like you say, I think it's going to get better because obviously where Stafford was dealing with that elbow issue in the preseason, he's obviously a new receiver. They're going to need some time to build that chemistry. I don't think he's completely washed. There's some talk that he looked a bit washed, but again, he's learning a new offense, new team, so better days will be ahead.
If that's your only real kind of, your only missed player from your week, you're going to have a good week. And, well done for Pat for that one. Moving on to Tom's team. Brady, like you said, a little bit disappointing, and Evans the same. Obviously got his touchdown, which is needed, and obviously that you kind of, when you put that stack together, you're kind of hoping you're going to get the massive week, and it was probably there for the taking last week, and they didn't quite get what they needed. Brown, he's going to be the number one guy for the long term now, isn't he?
At least until week 7.
So got a few more weeks of that, and I think he's going to have better days. Again, 10 points isn't something to really complain about. Sanders, good. He's not going to play against Detroit every week, but you're still going to take it and credit on that one. Taylor started pretty slow against Houston, but definitely kind of justified his first pick towards the end, and even a little bit of overtime as well for him. Akers, that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's 3 carries.
3 carries, maybe a reception there as well. But he obviously ended up with 0 points.
And apparently there was something going around. But McVay never goes out and kind of calls out players, and apparently called out Akers and says he's got to do more. So we'll have to see how that goes. But obviously that would probably have been a 3rd round pick or something for Tom. And big question marks if your 3rd round pick's going to get benched in week 2. Completely. Rest of the team looks okay. Anything on the benches to get excited about? Cordero Patterson for.
He see, it's weird. He really benefited. There was a stat about carry share and teams, like the usual guys had the most work, like Mixon and whatnot. And then Cordero Patterson was up there. He posted a career high for the running back share of the carries. Largely because Damian Williams got injured early on in this game. I think it just kind of happened that way, but he's still injured, and obviously Patterson proved he can still play the guitar. So. Other than that,
that's the only thing to get excited about on that bench.
Completely. Looking at it, so Tom's team, there's, as you say, there's definite question marks here. I think you could say between Akers. I still believe Akers is going to come good.
There's a player in there.
Yeah, he's still coming back from that Achilles and unlike James Robinson, who had a partial Achilles tear, which might explain why he looked so much better. He obviously had a full Achilles tear, so it is different. And I think Brady and Evans is something that you have to be perhaps a bit concerned about, because again, you kind of mentioned about the Titans being a changing team. I think the Bucs are a sneaky changing team as well. When you head coach, obviously Brady, did retire and retire. He's got things going on. O-line's not as good as it was with injury,
and they're still going to plan for Brady to not be there next year.
Exactly,
that's what all the talk is again.
Completely. And then the receivers are all of them are injured, literally all of them. So it's some worries there, and just to top it off, that Harrison Butker got injured as well. Bizarrely came back in the game, I think, and then did not play Thursday night.
Yeah, which
Very strange.
again, without spoiling a little bit going on, maybe Tom might not have seen that.
And then from the bench, as you say, I think Brandon Aoki, he was a late round pick that I liked from Tom again. You can't really judge it based on that game.
That game is going to be, pretty much a bit of a write-off.
Completely. Yeah. Dobbins is obviously going to be back. He didn't play in week 1, but again, he's probably going to take at least a few weeks to get up to the game script and everything.
But yeah, Tom drafted him knowing that, and again, hopefully, week 3, week 4, he'll be getting to a position where you can start him confidently.
Exactly, and
I think he will.
Tom loves starting slowly and then pulling it back come the end of it.
Was it 0-6 last year? 0-5?
Yeah, and he nearly made
the playoffs.
Yeah, and he's won the league entirely from 2-5 before. So then you go to Pat's team. Obviously, it's looking very top heavy at the moment between Herbert, Jefferson, and Adams, but that's quite the trio to have. Adams, if he's going to be seeing that kind of usage, will effectively probably be a first round grade player. Obviously got him in the second, so that's a good turnout for him. But yeah, similar kind of thing really, like you've got those top guys, you just need some other guys around that to kind of fill in. Dylan's probably going to be one of those guys. He should be fairly involved, but if you think with Lazard coming back and that pass game getting a bit better, he might lose a bit there. They really need Robinson to get going because I think Zeke's probably just going to be a problem all year long.
Yeah.
Again, speaking from owning him last year, and obviously that was with Dak there as well. But a good week 1 for Pat all the same.
Yep.
And I think we differed on this one. Chris did pick Pat to win. I picked Tom. So a spot on that one. Then we'll go to the final game of last week. Then it is Ross's team, which I can't remember the week 1 name. Max Effect. That's what it was against You Are Gold. Oh boy, this one was a doozy. So You Are Gold took on Max Effect, which is Ross's team, and Ross's team originally did win it. But they instead lost it in the end, 78 points to 76 points. So we'll go down and tell you why. Starting in your gold side, Trey Lance only had 9 points, obviously in a day where, the weather could have been better in Chicago. Michael Pittman got 18, Dalvin Cook got 11, and Rashad Bateman got 12. So a bit of a gypsy win with that lower scores, but You Are Gold just about gets enough to get the job done. On the other side of the ball for Ross's team, Max Effect, Dak Prescott only got 5 points. Obviously, he left the game injured there. Cooper Kupp got 19. Gabe Davis got 15. Ryan Suckup, the kicker, got 14. But they didn't quite have enough points to overtake your gold. What they did, I should say.
And then they did.
And then they didn't, because the Patriots had 8 points, which looked like a 79-78 point victory, but they had 3 taken away. We'll explain in a second what happened there to lose it. The history of this matchup all time now. Let's see here. You Are Gold, you were there. And Ross's team now 4-5, but still in Ross's favour. Yeah.
Bit of a strange one.
Yeah. Not often you have a Wednesday morning comeback. Sorry, or whenever it was changed.
I'm pretty sure there was no league bias going on as much as the reports in the group chat.
So just to fully explain what did happen in case you weren't caught up to speed. So there was a fumble recovery, strip sack fumble recovery touchdown by the Dolphins defense against the Patriots offense. When that happens, the defense is not charged with the points scored from the recovery touchdown, but they do concede the point from the extra point because obviously the special teams comes onto the field at that point. The site had erroneously not included that point in the points against total, leaving them on 13 with the additional 3 points to get to that 8 points. Then obviously retroactively changed that as they had done it in error, and that sadly took 3 points away.
Yeah. So, it was probably quite the most exciting thing of a kind of not so kind of special matchup. Obviously, the points being close is always good, but would have been nice to see some higher scores. We'll have a look at the winning team, which is Ollie's team. Trey Lance wasn't great. As far as we've been giving kind of hall passes to these receivers and running backs in this game in Chicago and in San Fran. I'm not 100% sure about the quarterbacks, but I guess we have to be as fair with them. So let's do that. Cooks looked relatively decent. That Houston team's still obviously not going to be a world beater, but being the number one guy, seemingly will get you something every now and then. Pittman, you knew what Pittman was going to be. He's going to be the target monster when they throw the ball, and he was pretty dominant again. 18 points, including a touchdown. That's going to be solid. Dalvin Cook, bit of a weird pickup because obviously the talk was that the Vikings were going to turn into this, more of a passing offense, but still pretty serviceable. 11 points with not a lot of red zone work. I don't remember.
Nothing in particular that I remember.
So again, there's definitely still a bit of room to grow, and if you get a 10-point floor every game, it's not great, but it's at least it's
11 points. Yeah, when they're forcing as much as to Justin Jefferson, you'll take it.
You've kind of got to take it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Aaron Jones, I think him and Dylan are going to have a week's. People talk 1A, 1B. It's going to be a little bit like that for them this year, and if you pick Aaron Jones, you're probably just going to have to ride it out for the good and the bad weeks, unless there's a big change. Somewhere.
Yeah, I think Jones as well is probably one that's going to benefit more when they're winning, I would say, because they're going to lean on the run game a bit more heavily. They obviously had to get away from it a bit here, so I think actually having a competent receiving game, hopefully when Lazard comes back as well, will help Aaron Jones, I think.
And just finishing off, Bateman. Again, I can't remember doing a lot apart from that big play.
Yeah, no, I mean Devin Duvernay obviously grabbed the two, which isn't going to happen.
No.
The rest of the season.
I think you're right with that one, but you got to take it, and if he's the guy and he can get over the top, then the ball should have come from Lamar, because they always do. They need a Hollywood replacement, so yeah, why not? On the other side for Max Effect, Prescott didn't look great. The injury obviously made it worse, but against a good Tampa team, but not getting anything on the board doesn't look good for him. Cup, you knew you were going to get the Cup, and it's not changed. Again, looked great on that Thursday game. Mark Andrews, again, it's okay. It's you're kind of hoping for a bit more, and he'll have those weeks where he'll get it. He'll get it a bit more.
You know what? Bateman and Duvernay got the 3 touchdowns, which that's not going to happen.
No,
every
again,
week,
if you look at the yards, they're pretty similar on yardage. Just one had the touchdown, one didn't, and that decides the game ultimately this week. Montgomery, Chicago. Getting a lot of carries. It was like 18 carries or something?
Khalil Herbert, I think, actually ended up scoring more on the day, didn't he? So
yeah, bit of a strange one, but again, we'll play the same card of the washout game. Gabe Davis looks good, number 2 in Buffalo, and that team looks like the best team in football at the moment. Javonte on the Monday. I didn't see a lot of the Monday, but he looked okay. Maybe
he looked pretty good. I think again he had quite a lot of receptions. Might have even been as much as 11. Which is crazy, I think. But again, the worries that we had about him, and obviously there was no question that he was a talented runner back. It was how much is Gordon going to be involved? He was still pretty involved. Yeah. They split the goal line work as well quite a bit. They both fumbled on the goal line, which was hilarious to watch as well. But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty close scoring. It looks like maybe there's a bit on the bench that could have changed it either way. Not really for Ollie's team, but for change the quarterback, for example. But you're gonna go and play your first QB
completely
in your first game. You can't look against that after the fact.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, Ross, again, the auto draft lucks out because he's given him, what looks to be a rejuvenated Kirk Cousins playing with, a better offensive mind than he's had before. And so, yeah, in terms of replacements, it's ready made there. Bench-wise, Ross has nothing really. Obviously, DK Metcalf had a bad day on a day where Geno Smith was actually balling as well.
Yeah,
so,
he looked quite decent.
That's a bit of a worry. And like you say, Cup's obviously fine, but then around that, Gabe Davis looks to be good, but there's definitely some question marks with the rest of the players there, as you say. I don't think it's going to be a vintage Ross team this year. It's not shaping up to be at the moment. Whereas for Ollie's team, again, there's better days ahead. Neither of his quarterbacks did particularly well in week 1. Obviously Stafford was just the Bills just had a good day. It's week 1, and Lance was in that ridiculous game, so I think that will change. I think the team's pretty good. It's that 4th flex spot where Bateman is probably the only one you question, but they've got George Kittle who didn't play either. So really he's more of a bench player, and obviously they're set up quite nicely if T. Higgins misses time with Tyler Boyd. Good win there for Ollie. Me and Chris both picked Ross to win this one, which kind of we were right originally, but weren't really.
That doesn't count.
No. And then Chris also locked Ross, so that was wrong as well. Is that
why you rigged the score?
Yeah, I can't fall
Because it
behind
locked.
further in the lock game because I am 1-5 with locks now. Chris is 4-2, and in terms of pick 'em, I'm 16-15, and Chris is 17-13.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. So we'll go on to the league news now. So in terms of additions, so obviously in the wake of Elijah Mitchell's injury, it was going to be. What am I doing? We have a jingle for the news before I go into. God, sorry, listeners, throwing you all off. All of our no listeners listening live along. Oh no, we don't want you yet. We'll come back to you in a bit.
I'll comment and flame us a bit later.
That's better. In the wake of Elijah Mitchell's injury, the question would be who would add Jeff Wilson and for what? You would think Chris would have obviously been heavily going for that. We know Chris has a pretty good team around it, but with Mitchell being out and going on IR, you think he'd go for him. But he went to the Detonators, which I suppose also makes sense from a landing spot with a team that had a lot of questions exiting week 1. He added him for Sky Moore and for $26. Mike, what did you make of that addition?
Yeah, you brought up Chris. It would have made sense for Chris to go for him, but like we went through in the matchup, looking at it, he had a bit of depth on the bench. Did Chris actually bid for him?
No, I was just going to tell you that he the waiver report, he did not bid for him at all.
Okay, that's interesting. And
you give your analysis and I will give mine.
I'm just basically copying what you said. Obviously, after that first week, Ollie, naturally feels like he's got to make a move, and 26 sounds quite fair. You're going to get what should be the number 1 running back who can do a good job as he did for big parts of especially the last half of last year. Looked quite decent. It felt like the only kind of big player to go for really, especially as a running back. And I think $26 for that is a pretty decent move. And I assume he'll be straight in there to match up against Seattle for Ollie's team on Sunday.
Yeah, so just to give you this rundown of the bids then. So, Ollie bid 26 and got him. I bid 11 and Pat bid 10. No other bids. And the reason I bid 11, I struggle with it, and this is why from Ollie's perspective, it completely makes sense. I add, obviously, he's got he needs some sort of a shot in the arm, and on paper, he's, a starting running back, fantasy-wise and obviously real-life-wise. But again, me owning him last year, I knew exactly what this Niners team was like. Yes, he did fill in for Elijah Mitchell, but they mixed in Debo a lot more than they were doing so with when Elijah Mitchell was in there. There's also other running backs now, a couple of other rookie running backs last year. It was kind of Trey Sermon and Jermichael Hasty, which weren't really any Not to say that the other 2 running backs that they've got, who are Jordan Mason and Tyrion Davis Price, if you want to know. Not to say that they'll either be any good, but I don't know. I just have a feeling this time, Jeff Wilson, another year older, he's been a serviceable running back. He's not a dynamic, it's the volume that you're chasing here, right? I get why Chris didn't go for him at all. I get why Pat kind of bid similar amount for me. For Ollie, it makes complete sense, and obviously we'll hope for Ollie it pays off, but definitely not a slam dunk, I don't think, by any means. The other ones I picked out, so Chris added Jarvis Landry for Nico Collins for $10. What'd you make of that move?
Landry was a player. I actually had a small bid for Landry. I can't remember what I
think I put in a claim for him as well. I'll give you the rundown. So I did a 0 bid. Chris obviously got him with 10. You bid 4. Pat bid 5. Ollie bid 5, and Ben bid 7. So he was quite a hot commodity on the waiver this week.
Yeah, the Saints. For me, my team, I need a receiver. That's why I went for him. Looking at him and the Saints didn't look great on the run. They seem to throw it a bit more. With Jameis, you kind of get those big play games, and if you get picked off, that doesn't really matter for a wide receiver. He looked quite good. Was it 10-11 targets for him on
over 100 yards
on Sunday? And Mike Thomas looks great, but if Jameis is going to play the way we think Jameis is going to play, there's probably enough room for two receivers, and in a not so great offensive in Cleveland for the last few years, he looked okay. So there's definitely. Well,
what are we learning about Cleveland receivers? Because obviously Odell was another guy who went away and did quite well.
The Super Bowl.
Yeah, Baker in Carolina. What happens with DJ Moore in Week 1?
Mm-hmm.
So I completely agree. Good ad for Chris. Obviously, he needs another startable option, losing Mitchell, and I think Landry could definitely be one of those. The next one I picked out here was Pakistan added Curtis Samuel for $5, dropping Marquez Valdez-Scantling. What do you make of that one?
It was $5. think for $5 with the way our fab works, it's worth a flyer on most players in the league, because if you don't need him, you're not going to get the fab. If you need him, you're going to get the fab to replace it anyway.
And if it doesn't work, you're likely in a bad spot and you'll get the additional money.
Exactly. So it's worth the go. Washington looked good. I probably, in hindsight, should have had a look in for Samuel. Was he leading the team in targets?
I don't know if he led in targets. Let's see. He got 8 receptions on 11 targets. So I think he did on the day. Yeah.
The only thing that kind of stopped me from going for him was that McLaurin didn't get that much of a look in. And you think that's going to regress in some way? And again, Dotson looked really good. So is there going to be enough room for three of them? Potentially, but I don't quite like the odds unless you have McLaurin, in which case I'd obviously go for him. But, again, it's a fine pickup and definitely chances of it working in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of odd thing here is, so I went for Jarvis Landry being the Michael Thomas owner, and I was considering going for Samuel as well, being the Terry McLaurin owner, just because I think the difference thing, obviously, again, Curtis Samuel is a guy last year just wasn't healthy at all. Better quarterback this year, obviously, which helps. Yeah. And he's also getting some usage in the run game. They're kind of scripting some plays to him. So I think, like you say, Dotson is probably profiles to be more of the inconsistent one. McLaurin is obviously going to have his bad days, but still profiles to be the lead receiver. Yeah. I think with Samuel, you're hoping that, okay, he'll probably rotate with Dotson, targets wise, but then he's getting these scripted runs. So I think it's a pretty astute ad by Pat Powell.
Yeah. So the question would be how far into the season is your second receiver for Washington going to give you the value? And we'll have to see.
Yeah, completely. Week one against the Jags, it's So this is the tricky thing with the week one, as you say, being semi-pre-season-y as well. Yeah. So
I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. And the final one I picked out here was for you, Mike, because back in the trend added Carson Wentz for Mike Davis as a free agent, and we were just speaking about Washington.
Yeah, so that's why I've got to say I think it'll be a good pickup because I'm not massively sold on Carson Wentz, but I'm not massively sold on Tua. So, as anyone at the draft can probably tell, I had a bit of a nightmare in the quarterback position. So, going to be a bit of a stream from week to week, unless some interesting trades come in. But yeah, Wentz matchup looks good. I think he's got Detroit this week. Looks right.
Yep.
Again, looked quite good on Sunday, and the Lions look poor. So, put them together. I may not play him, but I just don't fancy Tua at Baltimore. It seems like a strange play for me. So, pick up 1 week. If he sticks, I'll keep him. If not, then no harm done.
Yeah,
so,
no. I think we were saying on the. Well, I joked on the day. Oh, there's your waiver claim for the week when he was swinging the touchdowns there. So no, I think it makes sense as an option, as you say. Certainly with Tua playing against Baltimore. Yeah. So we'll go to the milestone standing and stats now. So if we start off with, let's start off with the standings. Actually, let's go back to here. So Southampton Division, you're top of the pile, Mike, with your 2-point advantage over Ixan, who also won in week 1. The Daves both losing their week 1 matchup, but again scoring similar amount, 90 and 87 points apiece. Postal Division, Gridiron Gang, top of the pile of the division and the league, with the league high 125 points. Forge Flies in second there with nearly half as much points, 74. And then the Dream Team and Bedadne is there on 1. And then in the Winchester Division, Pakistan and Ollie Gardner Beddoes at 1-0 each. Pakistan leading that up, and then Tom's Torrance and Ross's team, which was Max Effect, at the bottom. So I won't go through all the other stuff. Let's take a look at the coach ranking, because that's
the one I always like.
Yeah. So my dad, again, not a lot of bench options, so don't read too much into the 0. Same for you, our gold there in week 1. Ixan had a pretty good day with the 6 points on the bench, as did the Dream Team as well. Ollie, as we saw, pretty low points on the day, but can have done a lot about it with the options he has, as we know he's got some questions to answer. Tom's Torrance, 7.4. For me, Gridiron Gang, that was just James Robinson on the bench. For Dave Henderson, 12. So nothing really substantially bad, I would say. Obviously, you can see there's a few guys with 20 on the bottom here. I don't think in any of these games I would have. Ross is the big one that would have changed the result, but that was mainly because of Dak Prescott
quarterback.
Yeah. So you can't fault him for that. And then Chris as well obviously did have some points on his bench there, but nothing too major there. Looking at sorry, did you have something?
No, nothing.
Yeah, sure. Looking at the standings and stats then. So where are we? So we have a new all-time wins leader in Chris, with my dad losing. Chris now stand alone. With 102 wins at the top of the bowl.
And what a way to do it with 75 points. with a gypsy win to count it off. So, well done, Chris.
They all count, I suppose. Ben with his win as well, which was not a gypsy Stubbsy win. Ties up second at 101, so it is a 3-horse race really at the moment. What else we got? Coach Nunn notches his 70th career loss. Coach Barnes notches his 90th regular season loss. There it is there. And I got my 80th regular season win. So those were the only milestones that I picked up there. We haven't seen the power rankings yet, but presumably they'll be coming soon. Tom has got a new puppy, so that's probably explaining the delay completely understandably from someone who also had a puppy last year and had to work with that. That was fun. Yeah. So before we go into the week 2 previews, we will dip into debate corner. I nearly brought him out by accident earlier, but John, you can come out of the closet now.
Order!
God, I love a bit of Burko.
Yeah, thank you, John. God, we need a bit of Burko nowadays. Where is he in the Tory leadership race? Come on, man.
No, he doesn't want to be there.
I don't.
He's better than all that nonsense.
So for debate corner this week, we have which waiver pickup, nice and optimistic, will disappoint the most. Now, relative with this, you can obviously factor money that was invested upon them. So just to show you, I suppose, in a new view, all of the additions since the waivers this week. So we have, what's that week? Yeah, week 2. So we have Jeff Wilson, Cade York, Jarvis Landry, Josh Palmer, DJ Chark, Steelers D, Bengals D, Curtis Samuel, Young Waku, Isaiah Pacheco, Taysom Hill, I love that by the way, Greg Joseph, Robbie Anderson, Carson Wentz, Jamal Williams, Rex Burkhead, and Jamal Williams again. Sorry about me.
Yeah. I hope my lad's okay. But I'm tempted to say my own man now. I'm tempted to say Wentz just to annoy myself. But let's have a bit of a scroll down again. There's a couple I looked at and I kind of understood and wasn't massive for. Pacheco is a bit of a weird one. I believe Pacheco's already been dropped.
I was just going to hold him and see if he did anything, because he did obviously a little bit in garbage time. He did absolutely nothing, and I wanted to be snaky and take your handcuffs.
Well, that's fine. You can take my third running back handcuff. That's fine. Wilson obviously is the only real big commitment in terms of fab, and I think it's going to be an okay play. And I think for Ollie, like we said, I don't think he had a choice really. I don't think there's really a bad one. Any of the DSTs, Pittsburgh for 6 with a TJ Watt shaped hole in the middle of it will still be okay. But
I didn't really know. I mean, we saw the Bengals. And
again, they've got, is it New England, isn't it?
Yeah, it's New England. It wasn't just this week. I was going to look in the next few weeks because both them and the Bengals had some pretty good matchups. So the Steelers have New England this week at home. Then they've got the Browns, and then they've got the Jets.
Yeah, it's probably worth sticking with.
I reconciled it. Would I pay $2 a week for the defense? Yes.
Yeah, I'll take that. Right, I've got my answer. I've got 2.
Okay.
Both for the same manager, Robbie Anderson and Taysom Hill, both for Chris. Robbie Anderson, the week 1 bandit. Every year he catches a bomb and then does nothing. And Taysom Hill, I don't. I understand the kind of idea, the kind of tricky kind of 4 or 5 carries and maybe a couple of snaps. But I don't.
That game was again kind of
the only way that will ever work is if both QBs go down for New Orleans, and that won't happen in my opinion.
And I was quite surprised to see that it was actually changed to a tight end at this point. Again, I get it, and as you say, if that happens, they'll probably change it back because it's not kind of breaks the game a bit. But I completely get it because. What you're saying, because he obviously had that long run, then just had a touchdown. That's both those things are not going to happen every week.
You just can't count on it.
Exactly. No. In terms of disappointing for me, I already gave my rundown on Jeff Wilson. That's going to be my easy pick, just because of the money invested on it, obviously compared to everyone else. So again, I still think, as you say, it could definitely work out for Ollie, and he'll probably be a startable player. But in terms of him being the reliable points getter, I don't know. Could be spotty. We'll go into the week 2 matchups then. So we obviously have some games underway already. We'll pick a marquee matchup and we'll go at it from there. So off the top, we have Gridiron Gang against Bucking the Trend. So good time to come on the pod mic. We have Bedenades against Benessessis, which is a Founding Bowl matchup, a rematch of Corona Bowl 1. Napolitans against UR Gold, which I think is among the league's 2 newest members. Exciting against Palestine. Forge Flies against Tom's Tyrants, which again is a founding team matchup. And then Pitsman, which is Ross's team this week, against the Dream Team, which actually has some childhood kind of rivalry to it as well.
What was the matchup last week?
It was my team against Viv's.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. Let's go for...
Host gets to choose. Guest gets to choose.
I'm not going to... Apologies everyone else. Let's go for Bedenators and Bare Necessities.
I think that's got some pop to it.
Yeah.
Both these teams lost in week 1.
And they're both on a bounce back.
Exactly, yeah. So here we go. Marquee matchup of week 2. Bedenators against Bare Necessities. Bedenators take on Bare Necessities, the rematch of Corona Bowl 1, founding team matchup, and both these teams are staring 0-2 in the face unless they can beat one another. Bare Necessities projected to do just that, 90 points to what is probably a lowest projection I've ever seen.
I've not seen that.
65 points to Bedenators, so you can see there's some points on the board already as well. 9 points to my dad and then 1 point to Ollie. Let's go down the lineups and take a look. So starting on Bare Necessity's side in terms of changes, I believe that is an unchanged roster. So still going with the 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 receivers. And Eckler did get 9 points there on the Thursday night game last night. Looking at Bedenators' side, they've had a player already. That is Smith-Schuster. He only got 1 point last night. And Jeff Wilson straight into the lineup in favour of... who was he playing last week? Donnell Mooney? Yeah, he goes to the bench. So they are also going with 30 personnel, 3 running backs, 2 wide receivers. History of this matchup all time. Bare Necessities are 6-10 against Bedenators.
Right. It's probably a good time to play to play Ollie's team.
Yeah.
Ollie probably would have wanted a good start on the Thursday night, and that's probably the opposite of what he got. 10 yards from Juju. Again, it's not... We talked about this a little bit earlier when we were going through Smith-Schuster in particular. It's going to be the guy 1 week, but at the moment 2 strikes for Juju. I don't know how many more weeks you can kind of keep him in there and rely on him, but again, early days. It might still change. We'll go through Ollie while we're there. Russell, Houston, sounds like it's a good matchup to get them going, and I think for any chance this week, I think he's going to have a big week.
After the way that game ended for the Broncos as well, and obviously this will be the home opener for them. They're going to be coming out
firing
to prove a point, I think.
For sure. Yeah. Completely agree. He's still got CeeDee Lamb in there. We spoke about it a little bit earlier. It's going to be interesting to see how Dallas turn up and what they end up doing. Henry again at Buffalo on a Monday night game. By the looks of it, that'll be interesting. Obviously, Buffalo probably one of the top Ds in the league. But Henry still can be the guy.
Yeah.
Wilson, Seattle, sounds okay. I think again got to play him. Etienne at Indiana, I think again that's a pretty good matchup, if not great. And the kicker Bengals at Dallas, that's probably a pretty good pickup. I believe that was picked up on the waivers.
Yeah, that was the $5.
So definitely looking like there's a decent opportunity there for Ollie to score some points. On the other side, Lamar for Dave, he's got Miami at home.
They're a home opener as well.
Yeah. Yep. Lamar can obviously do it against anyone. Miami are pretty good on the defense, but I think Lamar will still have a day. Feeling at Philly, again, you feel like he's gonna, that kind of, what's the word? Share of the ball is not going to always be target share. It's not going to all be that kind of in the way of Jefferson. So. Feeling's surely going to have a bit of an increase.
I think is it Darius Slay the Eagles have? Yeah, so he's going to be shadowing. Obviously,
I don't think he's that good.
No, he's not on Jefferson's level, definitely not. But they're obviously going to be targeting him to take him away if they can.
And obviously in the same game, you got AJ Brown on the other side, so it's kind of one wide receiver 1, one wide receiver 2. We'll see how they end up. Fournette. He's listed as questionable. It's going to be a tough game. I believe he trained today.
Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's just perennially injured, isn't he? Hamstring, but yeah, he'll be fine.
I think he'll be fine for that. Eckler again, 10 points. Yeah, it's more than I thought he had to be honest. I thought there was a bit of kind of murmurs of unsatisfaction or whatever. Dissatisfaction is the word. But again, 10 points is just about the floor you can probably accept. Singletary, Tennessee, obviously he's not on the same level as Saquon, but Saquon tore them apart last week, so if he can get anything like that, it'll be a decent score, and Gay in the 9 against Seattle should be okay again. So looking like a close but not spectacular game.
I think again I could see this being a bit of another low scorer just because Ollie's team, where are the points really going to come from? You're looking at Henry, but then you think the Bills are probably going to set up to try and stop him. Going to the Buffalo Stadium as well is not an easy one. I think Wilson's going to have to do the heavy lifting if Ollie has a chance in this one. To be quite honest, Wilson could be okay, but again, we just don't know how much Debo's going to kind of rob from him, and then Etienne as well. I think this probably profiles as an Etienne game. That Indy run defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
And if the Jags do fall behind, obviously he's the pass catching back predominantly, so he could benefit. And then, as you kind of already said, the Bengals against the Dallas does look to be a good matchup. And then for my dad's team, again, it's like Lamar Jackson. You're looking probably to do the heavy lifting. I think AJ Brown showed in week 1 he's the dude there. Fournette's a solid guy. As you say, Thielen, surely he's going to have some days. And then Singletary's again, he'll get you some yards. I think if Godwin were healthy, he'd probably be in the lineup over him.
Yeah, I agree.
In terms of picking a team to win this one, yikes. It's a tricky one. We have the locks as well. I won't be losing mine here. That would shape up a disaster. I think I'll go with my dad's team. Obviously, he's got the points in the bag already, and he's really going to be relying on a few key guys to do the heavy lifting. Whereas I could see a few more guys popping up for my dad's team.
Yeah, I think I'd go for Dave's team as well, and I think that's the key point. Obviously, Lamar and Brown and Fournette to some degree can spike up and have the massive days where you look at Ollie's team and Russ might have a good day, and Henry definitely got it in the locker. But apart from that, you don't kind of believe it's going to happen if that makes sense. So,
completely,
I think it'll be relatively close, but I think Dave's going to have it.
Yep, sure. And then just to mop up with the injury situation, so Russell Gage limited with the hamstring, but he should play. Chris Godwin, he will not play because he suffered that hamstring injury in week 1 against Dallas. On to the next game, then we have Napolitans against UR Gold. Napolitans take on UR Gold here, and UR Gold, fresh off a week 1 win, projected to get another one, 94 to 85 points. Let's take a look at the lineups. Trey Lance has already been benched in favour of Matthew Stafford. Then looking at the skill positions, no change for Ollie at the moment, so they are trotting out with 20 personnel, 2 running backs and 3 receivers. On the other side of the ball, Napolitans, they remain unchanged at quarterback as well. Skill position-wise, they also look like they're unchanged as well. So that is 20 personnel for them as well, 2 running backs and 3 receivers. Looking at the history of this matchup all time, probably haven't played each other. Yeah, 1-0 in favour of Ollie. What do you make of this one, Mike?
Yeah, again, looking at it, looks like it's going to be a bit of a close one, if not the projections obviously highest scored in this game. They've made the change at quarterback as Ollie, so Stafford in for it was
Trey Lance,
that's the name. And Atlanta at home sounds like it's the best game, especially for a Rams team that wants to bounce back.
Oh yeah.
I think for sure smash play go on that.
I think so.
Cooks, Denver, definitely worth the go. I don't massively like it, but I think compared to what he's probably got elsewhere, I think you go for it. Pittman, you would normally play him. I think there's a bit of a doubt about Pitt. I don't think he's trained today.
Yeah, so he suffered a quad injury, which apparently he suffered in practice on Wednesday, listed as questionable, and it sounds like probably on the slightly better side of questionable, but I don't know. I think he's really, really at risk at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So obviously that's one to monitor over the weekend, but there'll be a pretty big hole in that lineup if he's not there, especially for such a good matchup at Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Dalvin Cook at Philly, I think that's going to be great. The only thing is, they're going to need him a lot, and you hope they will. Jones at Chicago, or at home to Chicago on the Monday and Sunday night game. You'd like to think that's going to be good. You'd like to think Green Bay are going to bounce back.
They usually are.
I think last season I think they got smashed in week 1 as well. Was it by New Orleans?
They went somewhere down.
They played somewhere. They played in Jacksonville.
I think it was outdoors. Yeah, I think it might have been Jacksonville actually. Yeah, and
they got hammered.
Yeah,
and then they bounced back, and Rodgers won the MVP. So
yeah.
I think Jones is going to be okay there. Bateman at Miami. it's not as good a matchup as last week, obviously. But again, I think, like I said, for the last matchup, Lamar will get stuff done, and as a byproduct, so will Bateman. Rams at Atlanta as well. Atlanta looked better with the ball than last year, but how good?
Yeah,
we don't know yet.
They've always got it in them, haven't they?
So the Rams are definitely worth a go, and that's fine.
Just going back to Dalvin Cook as well, we obviously just saw DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams run all over that Philly defense, so could profile as a better game for them.
Absolutely, completely agree. On to Dave on the other side. Hurts at Minnesota. Again, I think this game, much like the last game Philly played, is going to be a bit of a shootout, I reckon, between the two teams. And he didn't quite have the number that probably represents how he played last week. It was only
25. Yeah.
You think he probably can do a bit better, and I think he probably will. He'll have a good game. Hill at Baltimore. Who knows? This is the big test for Tua. Obviously, he's one of the best receivers in the league, but if he quarterback can't get the ball, he can't get the points. So we'll have to see.
And they were clearly scripting some stuff to get him the ball.
Well, I saw Tua's first throw was 5 yards short. He almost thought what he signed up for. Higgins sounds like he's going to be okay. I think he's getting through the concussion protocol.
Yeah, he had a personal day or something weird yesterday and missed practice because of that. But and he returned to practice. So yeah, if practicing is a good sign.
And a Dallas team that looks pretty all over the place at the moment. Got to play him. Edmonds at Baltimore again. It's probably better being a running back against Baltimore than a receiver, but it's all on the team. That one we'll have to see. Kirk at Indiana, I think that's a good play. Harris at New England, I think you've just got to kind of hope he sticks in, and there's no designation on him.
It's really weird because high ankle sprains
they don't really go away.
No, and they're usually something that knocks a guy out for a few weeks. So very strange.
Just last thing I've seen is obviously Dolphins D at Baltimore. It's going to be. It sounds like a tough matchup. But the Dolphins got a funny way of getting takeaways and getting that kind of stuff. So he doesn't have any DSTs on the bench to play about.
No, I don't think he's. No one's there at the moment.
No, fair enough.
I think it profiles as another kind of gritty, close game. I think in this one, I think I'm gonna lean with you, our gold. My answer would probably change if we knew if Pittman was out for sure, but I don't know. Week 1 was a weird one for them where they only got the sub 80 points. But bear in mind they got nearly to 80 with the quarterback doing essentially nothing.
You got 4 points.
Exactly. I think I'd be very surprised if Stafford didn't lead this game with at least 20 points. Then Cooks, I think he's being the lead target in that offense. He's a guy that should have a lot of solid days. And then between Pittman, Cook, and Jones, at least one of them I think is going to pipe up with a big day, if not multiples of them. So I think there's a good route to victory there. For Napolitans, I could definitely see them winning as well. Hurts, obviously, if he has the big day, I think he kind of needs that, because you look down that team at the moment, there's a lot of good guys there, but there's no one that jumps out to you really and say, that guy is going to go out and just win, he's going to get a boatload of points and win this game for me. There are a lot of nice contributors, I think, but there's not one in particular. If Higgins plays, potentially him. I guess Jamar Chase will probably face Trevon Diggs, but how bad of a matchup is that? Yeah. And ultimately, will the Bengals need to pass much in this game if it goes the way we think?
You think not.
But someone's got to score the points on route to that, obviously. So, and then again, Hill is a guy that can obviously pipe up anywhere. But for me, I think there's a bit more settled stuff when you are gold. I think you look at the week 1 with a bit of a horns effect, and it was made worse by that quarterback situation. So I like your goal in this one.
I agree. Not quite for the same reasons. I think if there's only one matchup I really don't like, and that's that Miami Baltimore game, and the problem is Dave's got 3 of those players all on the Miami side. He's got Hill and Edmonds and the DST, and if Miami storm that game, I'd go for Dave, but I don't see it happening that way. So
you are right to highlight it, because the Dolphins only put up 20 points against the Patriots, and 7 of those was from a defensive touchdown, which Baltimore will take care of the ball a bit better. And then on the other side of that, as you say, with Baltimore, they were okay in week 1, but they're pretty stingy, in terms of the offense isn't going to give away turnovers. They're going to run the ball a lot and things. So I agree. That doesn't profile as a complete point getter either. Our next game then, we have Iksan against Pakistan. Iksan take on Pakistan here in week 2. Both of them have a win, so both looking to keep a 0 in the L column, and this one's already underway as well. Looks like a good one. 29-21 in favour of Pakistan so far, and projection-wise 101-96. Looking down the lineups for Pakistan, Justin Herbert outdueled Patrick Mahomes in the Thursday night game, getting 29 points. In terms of skill positions for Pakistan, Cordarrelle Patterson comes into the lineup in favour of Allen Robinson, so they are going running back heavy in the wishbone. 30 personnel, 3 running backs and 2 wide receivers. On the other side of the ball for Iksan, Mahomes did get that 21 points there. And skill position-wise, no changes for them, so they remain with the 30 personnel wishbone as well. 3 running backs, 2 receivers. The history of this matchup all time, Iksan are 5-5 against Pakistan, so the winner will take the lead in the series.
Exciting game, and it's always interesting when the 2 quarterbacks go against each other, especially on a Thursday night. So I think Pat will be very happy whenever you go against Patrick Mahomes and you come out on top.
Yeah.
You've got to take it, and 8 points. I wouldn't be surprised looking at the matchups if 8 points is the difference between these 2 at the end of the week. We'll start with Pat Adams at Arizona. If they defend the way they defended against the Chiefs last week, then Adams is going to have an absolute field day. We talked about Jefferson and we talked about Philly, and it just sounds like another match made in heaven for them. Cordarrelle at LA, they weren't great on Thursday on the first week, but you assume they're going to get better. That's going to be a harder matchup. But we talked earlier, he gets the volume, he gets the snaps, so there's probably going to be a score in there. Elliott at the Bengals. I don't think that's as bad as it probably is perceived to be. I think he could do okay there. And Dillon at Chicago, the same way we talked about Jones. If the game script goes the way we think it will go, they're both going to be fine plays. Yeah. Browns at the Jets. Not 100% on that defense, but I think they'll be okay. On the other side, Mahomes again. Half his score of week 1, but that's
21's not going to kill you,
and that's the floor. That's the floor of Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's why you draft him for those kind of scores. You just take that and move on. Cooper at the Jets. We talked about it not being a great offense, but this has to be the time to play him. You got the Jets at home, and you're really going to see what your player can do. So I understand why you play it. Debo at Seattle. Again, it's going to be a fine play. I think you probably like it more than I do, but the way you said it about the Jeff Wilson stuff, you think it's going to have far more opportunities and stuff like that, which makes sense. Who else is there? There's Connor at the Raiders. He'll be fine, if not spectacular. I don't massively like it. McCaffrey at the Giants. I think that'll be where the game's going to be this week. If McCaffrey can find where that former number 1 pick was against a team that might let him do that, then we'll have to see. Gibson at Detroit, again, that might be a big reason. And the Colts at Jacksonville. Those are Jacksonville are better now than they have been perceived in the league, but you still target your Jacksonville, your Jets, your other crappy teams like that. As for the pick, it's close.
I agree.
I'm on the fence here. I won't be using my double down or whatever it is.
The lock.
I'm going to pick one because I think you're going to pick the other. I'm going to pick Ben.
You're going to pick Ben? Yeah, I to be honest, I think I was leaning towards Pat, and I think Ben's team is a good team because you look at a guy there, Debo now, he's just going to be an absolute stellar play for him. You've got lead backs in McCaffrey, Gibson and Connor, who are going to be solid point getters. Cooper's obviously the wild card, but this could be one of those games where he does pop up. But for me, it's just so hard to overlook the superstar power between Adams and Jefferson. They might not have they're not going to have weeks like they did in week 1 every week, but they're such good receivers, such a big part of their offense, it looks like as well. Patterson as well, he's a volume play. Like you say, it's not quite the same going to LA, and they'll obviously be able to prove something. And I think even AJ Dillon, as we said, the Packers own the Bears, so I think AJ Dillon's almost game. He's a guy that's going to be a solid point getter, if not spectacular. Yeah. Elliott, I think actually you probably have more confidence in Elliott than I do. Yeah. Especially if they do get down. Pollard's going to see the field more just because he's obviously the more dynamic pass catching back. That's really the only major letdown I see in this team. I am going to lean Pat. I agree. I'm not going to use my lock here because I don't feel so much more strongly about Pat. It's obviously just the top heaviness of it. But no, will be a good one to look at. I'll just cover off the injury news and then we'll go back to the other game because I forgot to do that. Yep. So nothing in the starting lineup. On the bench, Ken Walker, I think he'll be back this week from his hernia injury.
Sounds like he's good to go.
Yep. That's the only one for that one. Then just tying off the Napolitans who are gold injuries. So we covered Higgins and Pittman, I think, pretty well. Bench wise, Velas Jones, he'll play. Tony, he's suffered a hamstring, or he got a bit of tightness, I think, in his hamstring. And Kittle, Tony probably won't play, I don't think, by the sounds of it. And then Kittle has a groin injury still from that week 1 training injury, and it's sounding not too good on him as well, I think. Let's just bring up here. He didn't practice yesterday, so I'd say he's probably looking doubtful as well. Yeah. We'll go on to our next game then, which is Forge Flyers against Tom's Tyrants. Forge Flyers take on Tom's Tyrants in another founding team bowl. No players scored points on Thursday night. We'll come back to that in a second. But the projections, probably the closest I've ever seen, 82.15 to 82.12. Boy, we're in for an L-biter if it comes down to that. Looking down the lineup, so for Tom's Tyrants, lineup-wise, they are unchanged at the moment, so still rolling out the 30 personnel. Wishbone, 3 running backs, 2 receivers. They did have their kicker inactive on Thursday night, which Tom just missed in his sleep-deprived state, having the puppy, unfortunately, who obviously scored 0 points. On the other side of the ball for Forge Flyers, lineup-wise, let's see here. Kareem Hunt does come into the lineup, obviously, for the injured Elijah Mitchell. So they got a lot of wishbone this week. 30 personnel again, 3 running backs, 2 receivers. So that's what they're going with. The history of this matchup all-time, Forge Flyers are 7-8 against Tom's Tyrants, so profiles to be a close one.
Yeah, and I hope it's not going to be so close that not having a kicker makes the difference.
That would suck.
For Tom. Is Brady the only quarterback that Tom's got?
Yes.
Because I think that might be a bit of an issue. The last 2 years in the regular season, Tampa have been smashed at New Orleans. And at the moment, none of the receivers are kind of, you don't know who's going to play. Evans questionable, Godwin probably out. Julio's got something going on. Gage.
Yeah.
Who else is still there? Paravan still there or something? There's someone else there who's got some random injury somewhere. Yeah. So obviously with no receivers, it's not going to look like a great outing for Brady in a game he historically doesn't do well in anyway.
And he didn't look pristine in week 1. I thought he looked okay.
He looked like someone who spent 2 weeks off before the start of the preseason.
Yeah.
And I guess for someone like him, it's going to take a bit of time to get up to speed, but I don't think this week's going to be the week.
Going into New Orleans as well, I think that plays a big part in it too.
I can completely agree. Evans, we just talked about, if he plays, I guess you've got to play him, and Evans has got a pretty solid floor. I don't know if we've got any news for Evans, but
so I think he didn't practice yesterday because it was the calf injury he was dealing with, wasn't it? He's practicing today though, so that is a good
bit
sign.
of good news for Evans and I guess for Brady as a proxy. Brown at the Raiders. Again, I think the Raiders aren't great on defense, so Brown could be a good player. Depends on kind of what Kyler turns up. But I like Brown. I like Brown there. Sanders at Minnesota, he looked really good last week, and again, I think Minnesota's going to be a tougher test for him than last week. But I think there's no reason why he can't score well. Taylor at Jacksonville is the one though. Looking at that, that's what you
especially if they're missing Pittman.
Yeah, and that's what you're first picking the draft for. Yeah. For these kind of games that are going to be quite close between the two teams. You need someone to step up and make the difference. And, he could definitely have a big one. Hopefully, it's Jacksonville stay in the game long enough that they don't start resting him halfway through the third quarter and all that kind of stuff. Interesting, Cam Akers still in. That might be based off of obviously a bit of sleep detriment, but he's going to give it another shot, and he will get opportunities on Sunday. But definitely a bit of a bold play, but it's a bit mad saying that about your third pick in week 2, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not how you want to start the season.
No, absolutely not. Broncos at Houston. I'm okay with that play. We'll move on from the kicker. Have a look at Chris's team. Interesting, we talked about Hollywood Brown relying on Kyler. Well, Kyler's on the other side, so for Tom's sake, you better hope that Kyler's feeding him all the way. I think Kyler's going to have a good game. Sutton at Houston. I think he's going to look good again. Waddle at Baltimore, unsure. Like we said, and then you got the 2 Cleveland running backs at the Jets. Yeah, that's where
probably going to run all over.
That's where you want them to be.
Yeah.
Kamara, I don't think Kamara's looking good to play.
He's still got that rib issue, hasn't he? I don't think he he didn't practice yesterday. I will, while you're doing the rest of the run, and I'll see if there's been an update.
Little scroll
Yeah,
down the bench, because if Kamara doesn't play, he's going to be looking at the likes of maybe Jarvis Landry or his new pickup Robbie Anderson. More likely he's going to be probably Rashard Penny going in, because he looks pretty good at in Seattle against Denver on that Monday game. So looks good. Cowboys D at Cincinnati doesn't sound fantastic to me, but we'll have to see how that goes. I don't think Burrow's going to give the ball away as generously as he did last week. But
again, he's another guy kind of like Brady, I suppose, where he had that appendectomy, and I think did his appendix actually burst or something? Cause he was away for a few weeks, and then had a bit of not as badly as Brady was late in the preseason, but could have certainly played a part.
That's about it. I think that's a pretty solid looking team for Chris, and even if Kamara doesn't play, I reckon there's enough of there's enough on the bench to probably see him through. We'll hear what you say before I get
sure. So I just saw actually when I was trying to see, so no update on Kamara, but it looks like Jones is practicing again, which is good.
Julio?
Julio. So I could pivot to him like you say, but there's a few good options there. I think I'm actually going to go with Chris as my lock this week. So
can we pick the same locks?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to double up.
Oh yeah, so my lock's Chris as well then. So sorry Tom, but if anything to go off, my locks mean absolutely nothing.
It's just because of the kicker,
not only that. No, I think it's good that Brady has his weapons, but you kind of already said it. He has typically struggled against New Orleans. I don't think this is completely the same New Orleans defense that shut down Brady in seasons past, but obviously from a schematic point of view, Dennis Allen is still there as the head coach. So and obviously Tom has Mike Evans as well. Again, Marshall and Latimer I think is a guy who typically shuts down Mike Evans, who isn't at full health either. Then you've got some questionable guys, like you said, Cam Akers. I agree, he's going to have a better day, but we don't know what that split's going to look like. Miles Sanders as well. I'm not reading too heavily into that week one because you had him last season. You know what he's been. It was positive, but we know they like to rotate. We know Jalen Hurts is going to still work on the ground. And Minnesota are not Detroit either. Jonathan Taylor's obviously as you say, the nailed on guy there, and no doubt if Tom wins this one, he'll be a big part of that.
Taylor,
But for me, for Chris, it's just a solid team. The two Browns running backs, like we saw, they would have combined for like 35 points in week one, and he played both of them playing the Jets. Browns are going to want to run it.
It's going to be the same goal. I expect it to be the same kind of result.
I think Sutton, he's going to just be a solid guy, and he'll have some blow-up weeks as well playing with Wilson. Jalen Waddle can chip in here and there, and then obviously if Kamara plays, he's a big part of what they'll do. And a lot of the Bucs defense it's kind of like a pass funnel. They're going to stop the run and make you pass. Well, Kamara just happens to be one of the best receiving backs in the NFL as well, as being a great runner of the ball. And as you said, Kyler faces a pretty soft Raiders D as well. So, and the Cowboys, I imagine Chris. I would be surprised if Chris sticks with the Cowboys.
I think so. I think there must be some better picks.
Yeah, there is definitely one out there. I'm not going to say who, but we both go with Chris as our locks for that one then. So on to the next game then. So penultimate game of the week, we have Pittsburgh against the Dream Team. Ross takes on Viv. Both these teams with a loss in week one, looking to change that, and it profiles to be a close one, 99-95 in favour of Ross's team. But Viv does have 17 points on the board. Stay on Viv's side first. So Viv gets that 17 points from Mike Williams, and Darrell Henderson also comes into the lineup in favour of Jerry Jeudy. So he's actually playing a running back this week, so it's 10 personnel, 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. On the other side of the ball for Ross's team, obviously Kirk Cousins comes into the lineup with Dak Prescott expected to miss a considerable amount of time. Elsewhere, no other changes, so Ross still going with the 21 personnel, 2 running backs, a tight end and 2 receivers. The history of this matchup all time, Ross's team, or Viv's here, so Ross is 4-6 against Viv all time.
It's going to be I think this one's going to be quite close, and it should be high scoring. I like a lot of the matchups I'm kind of seeing here. We'll start with Who should start with? Let's start with Viv's team. Borough at Dallas, I think that's the place you really want to go at the moment.
Yeah.
They didn't look great with a quarterback, let alone without one. No disrespect to Cooper Rush. I think he's going to have a big game, and you take away his 5 picks or whatever it was last week. Then his scores in the 30s.
Yeah.
Diggs at Tennessee, Buffalo. I think they're the best team in the league at the moment, so they're going to be the pace setters in most of these games that they play against. And Tennessee weren't great. I can see that being another good game for Diggs. Chase, Burrow, Dallas. It all spells out to be a great game for that. Obviously, he's had Williams play. Stepped up in the big Keenan Allen role. 17 points is a great start to the week, and,
especially because he only had 1 in week 1 as well.
1 point. 1 point. So definitely good news for that. And DJ Moore's getting another chance at the Giants, and it's the kind of game where you feel like you probably got to play him. Henderson at Atlanta, again, that should be an okay play. And the Bills at Tennessee. Yeah, you play the Bills most weeks you have them, and that's probably why you end up drafting them where you do. On the other side, quarterback change as you mentioned. Cousins at Philly should be okay. If you talk up the receivers, you've got to talk up the quarterback as well. Cup at Atlanta, again, that's why you first round him. You're going to get those kind of opportunities and stuff. Mark Andrews at Miami. I think Mark Andrews is going to have a good game. I think Miami. They're gettable. I think they're okay defensively.
The linebackers aren't the best there.
And then it kind of opens up for your tight ends and stuff. Looking further down, they've got Javonte at Houston. Looks good. Gabe Davis at Tennessee for the same reasons. I think he's going to be pretty good. And Montgomery at Green Bay. It depends on the Green Bay you're going to get, but we're kind of expecting a resurgence. But I wouldn't be surprised if he stepped up. Patriots D at Pittsburgh is a bit. I wouldn't say questionable, because Patriots D have been a stalwart of DSTs for the last 5-6 seasons, but it could be a bit of a shift. It's probably the weakest Patriots team I've seen for the last 5-6 years.
So.
And you're probably more suited to talk about.
Yeah, I think defensively, obviously, we're getting a bit old in some positions, and we're trying to get a bit younger, and that's why there is a bit of a shift. For me, though, it's less about the Patriots. It's more probably the Pittsburgh side. Obviously, they won against the Bengals in week 1. I think there was somewhat why their defense was a large part of why they won. Their offense, watching the game, they didn't do a great deal. Trubisky didn't look great. Najee Harris obviously now has that high ankle sprain. So I get it. Why you would stick with them, but going into Pittsburgh as well, that's also the tricky part of it.
Yeah, there's probably a bit more positivity than I see for it. But yeah, that's fine. Who would I pick on this one? I'd probably go for. I think I'd go for Viv. Chase and Burrow stack looks a little bit too good to resist, really, with obviously Diggs and Henderson, and obviously the points in the bank from Mike Williams. It seems like it's a good way to go. But I don't think over Ollie's team. It is Ollie, isn't it?
No, it's Ross.
Oh, it's Ross. Sorry, Ross. I do think Ross's team does have the potential to definitely go up. So it could be a high scorer. I'll go for Viv.
I think I'll go with Viv as well. Like you say, Williams is kind of one of the more support guys in this team, and obviously had a good day, so that's a massive start for them. And then those 3 guys there, Burrow, Diggs and Chase, they're going to combine for a lot, and then whatever you get from Moore, Henderson, York and the Bills D, which could be a fair amount. I think Viv should be on course for a good victory here. For Ross, like you say, you think it's got to be better with Cousins coming in, but I don't know, outside of Cup, there's just nothing on this team that really jumps out. For me, they're not amazing at every other position. Gabe Davis looks like a good pick, but he's not going to pop up he did a lot of his damage on that one catch.
Is he, you compare him to Diggs, you just got to kind of go with Diggs.
Exactly. Exactly. And then Williams, as we know, he's already splitting the work. He'll have decent days, but and then Montgomery as well, like you say, he's kind of in that Najee Harris. He's not very efficient with the ball on a not very good Bears team. So for me, I think Viv takes this one. So injury wise, I think it is only Dak Prescott injury wise, and then again I forgot to do it for Chris's and Tom's game, so we'll just have to tailback for that. So Evans, practicing, should play. Alvin Kamara, we don't know yet. I would imagine he'll suit up if ribs is a tough one for a running back, but I reckon he'll gut through it. Julio Jones sounds like he'll be back as well. Should play. Was dealing with the hamstring as well, I think, and J.K. Dobbins could return for this game as well, coming back from the knee injury.
What about the kicker?
Well, he did not play.
He's not
he's not really. Yeah.
That'll be the last time I say it. Sorry, Tom.
And finally, on this very long podcast this week, but that's fine. It's a good chat. We have the last game, which we obviously saved, was Gridiron Gang against Bucking the Trend.
Best of
The league's current leader in Gridiron Gang take on Bucking the Trend, who also won their week 1 game and lead their division. And this one profiles to be a pretty good one as well, as it's projected in favour of Gridiron Gang 89 to 86, but Bucking the Trend do have the lead 18 to 5. Starting with Bucking the Trend, looking down the lineup-wise, a bit of a shift, so Eamon Ross, St. Brown, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire come into the lineup in favour of Keenan Allen, who missed last night's game with the hamstring, and Josh Jacobs. So Bucking the Trend going with 30 personnel. Wishbone, 3 running backs, 2 receivers. On the other side of the ball for Gridiron Gang, Kelsey got the 5 points there in the Thursday night game, and James Robinson comes in favour of Darren Waller. So they're going with 21 personnel, 2 running backs, a tight end, and 2 receivers. The history of this matchup all time: Gridiron Gang are 0-4 against Bucking the Trend.
I didn't realise it was that bad.
So that profiles well for you.
The problem with records is they have to change at some point. So hopefully this week isn't the week to change it. Looking at my team, I'm almost certainly going to be playing Carson Wentz instead of Tua. Just didn't get around to actually locking it in. So if we pretend Wentz is in there, it's a pretty good matchup for him against Detroit. Deontay Johnson, I don't massively like the play. Again, I'm not settled with my lineup for this week.
Neither am I.
I've got players like Jacobs. I probably can't actually play Jacobs because of the running back dilemma. So
well, injury wise, you never know. But,
it might happen. But it sounds like Johnson's probably gonna have to play, and we'll see. I'm not convinced massively on him. St. Brown, it looked really good on last week. A lot of Detroit did on the offense side of the ball. Barkley again, I'm just hoping for anything resembling last week is going to be very good for me. Swift is a bit strange because he's not been training, but he says he's fine to play, so we'll have to see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
And for my sake, I think I'll need him to play to stand a chance this week. I've obviously had a couple of players as well. Edwards-Helaire, 12 points. Pretty happy with that, considering he didn't have that much until the final quarter.
Yeah.
I think there was a 50-yard run at the end, and 6 points for the kicker is not special, but it's 6 points more than Tom. So this is the last time I'll say it. Sorry. And Buccaneers D, I've got at New Orleans. Might not be good, but there'll be sacks. You'd like to think there's a takeaway or two, and there's probably a lower floor score there somewhere. Other side of the ball, Josh Allen at Tennessee. Sounds great. Could be one of the massive games for Josh Allen. Trevor Kelsey, 50 yards, 5 points. Not that great. This is going to be the thing all season, I reckon, for Kansas Chiefs. Who's going to score the points? Your first pick would be Kelsey at the moment.
And he did leave them in receiving, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
With that.
And we talked earlier, obviously stopped a couple of times on the goal line, which happens. Thomas at Tampa Bay, going to be interesting. This will be the real test for Thomas. Is he back?
Yeah.
I think he is back, so I think he could have a decent game there. Mixon at Dallas. Again, we keep saying about Dallas, so I think Mixon's going to fly. McLaurin at Detroit. Again, all the kind of green lights are there for McLaurin. And Robertson at Indiana. All kind of depends on game script, that one, I reckon. And not massively. I wouldn't be massively keen on Robertson, but it's definitely worth the go. Obviously, you've got your running back at the kicker position as well. 15-point game, young Wade Koo. And Steelers, we obviously mentioned without TJ Watt, but I reckon they're going to have enough in New England anyway. So, big score coming in there for the Steelers D.
Hopefully, that's the plan. Yeah, no, like you, my lineup's definitely not settled as well. I have basically been strong-armed into playing James Robinson at the moment by Phil, who is taking a bit more of a role in the team this year. Of course, my offensive coordinator. Or no, he didn't reach that. What was he? I think offensive coaching assistant.
All you do is pick the DST. Is that what we're saying?
That's what we've got to. No, he's obviously a Jags fan, so I agree that the game script worries there. He is still splitting the role with Etienne. He got 12 touches last week. How valuable would 12 touches be against the Colts? Not a great deal if you don't get a touchdown. I'm considering playing Darren Waller over him, and then
I think Jamal Williams could be the one.
If Swift doesn't go,
depending on Swift.
Completely. And I didn't do that just to screw you, by the way. I did it just because Swift could have been on anyone's team. I would have done the same thing. So, and I've got guys like Melvin Gordon as well, who obviously featured a fair amount there in week 1 playing Houston. Yeah. And Alan Lazard as well. We don't really know what's going to look like, but
sounds like he's going to be ready.
Yeah, he'll be ready. And Rogers sorely needed a receiver he likes. Yeah. But again, am I going to throw him in there? Not really knowing what that's going to look like. Debatable. Yeah, so Swift, I mean, I think Swift being healthy for you is obviously a big thing because he looked really good in week 1. Yeah. Actually, I think has a claim of being the best running back. We already spoke about, he got vultured a couple of times. That's not going to happen every time. And then Barkley obviously looked great as well. Getting 12 points from Hill is a good start for you, as you say. The kicker is the kicker. So no, I think it profiles to be a close game. And then quarterback's going to be the wild card for you because, as you say, Josh Allen is going to put up some points. Can your quarterback, whoever it ends up being, probably can they put up enough to kind of probably cover the difference there? Because, like you said as well, Thomas, he's a guy that I'm on the fence with. Being the first game at home in the Superdome, I'm kind of leaning towards going with it. But obviously, again, we said he didn't do much before halftime. They kind of not forced him the ball, but Jimmy's took a bit of a chance with the throws and he obviously came up with it. McLaurin as well. Again, targets-wise last week wasn't great, but you wonder, is that maybe the blip, not the... Because A.J. Brown shredded the Lions last week.
That's why I'd expect that was the... if you blips, 100 or 14 points or whatever, then I don't want to know what the good day is going to be.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting... There's a lot... I think more than any other game here, there's so many players in this one that there is such a wide outcome. Possible outcomes. You know what I mean? Like, it makes it really hard to predict.
This could be like a 60-60, or it could be a 100.
Both of us could go off. Neither is good. One of us good. There's so much room for differences in here. I think, given you've gotten the bit of the advantage with a support guy in Hilaire versus my second round pick Kelsey, I think I'm just going to lean your team. I have faith in your quarterback decision.
I'm glad someone does, because I definitely don't. I have a feeling that Swift is going to not be very good in a weird way. So for that reason, I'm going to pick you, Nate.
Okay.
I think whatever quarterback I pick, Josh Allen is going to wipe the floor with him, and Mixon and McLaurin and probably Robertson as well, despite me talking bad about him, are going to do it. So
okay.
I'm hoping I'm wrong on that one.
Well, we'll find out one way or another in a few days. So, so that's all the Week 2 previews done, and that brings us to the end of another episode of the LOC Report. A bit of a long one, but that's okay. Lots of interesting stuff going on. Thank you for joining. Did you enjoy your second
fun?
Whatever appearance this is?
Second one.
It is the second one.
Hopefully it was better than the last one. Hopefully I sounded like I knew a bit more and a bit more insight. So, good to be here. Thanks for having me. And, have a good week, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. So have a good weekend. You're welcome to come watch the games of mine on Sunday. Again, Mike's going to dip out for Barkley, but then come back because that worked pretty well for him last week.
It was a treat last week.
It's a bank holiday weekend as well, so enjoy that. Best of luck in your matchups, unless you're playing me, of course. Sorry, Mike. Goodbye.
See ya.